I'm Queen ShanShan, and this is a broadcast podcast.
Broads, hey girl, hey! Happy July. We are officially at 6 months. Unbelievable, Edward.
6 months and 30 episodes.
30 episodes. This is our 30th episode with Queen ShanShan and Eduardo.
Eduardo, I like that. See, Eduardo. Mm-hmm.
You know what? I was just looking at the stats the other day. We're averaging 100 downloads a day.
I am in love with that number.
I can't believe it.
That's a good number.
Yeah, it's a really good number. And thank you for being here and helping me
Of course.
achieve this
I love
little
it.
dream of mine.
It's amazing.
How you doing?
I'm good. I love the low light.
Yeah, we have a little light because it's hot.
It's like Euro lighting or something.
Yes.
So I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
You had some things that happened over
Yes.
the 4th of July?
I want to talk about our little 4th of July hiatus. We took a week hiatus, you guys, as you know. We wanted to just take a nice break. Did you take a nice break too, Edward?
I did. I was crying on my mother's shoulder
Really?
for the earthquakes. I was so scared.
Yes, we had some earthquakes here, but I didn't participate in the earthquake preparedness because I was in Connecticut, New York, visiting my friend Ellen.
I heard.
And it was her 50th birthday, and me and Heather, who's been on the show, my best friend, we went to go visit her.
It's your birthday, yes it is, it's your birthday, yes it is, it's your birthday, so happy birthday to you, yes you. It's your birthday, yes it is, it's your birthday, yes it is, it's your birthday, so happy birthday to you, yes to you.
It was really fun. I'd never been to Connecticut during the 4th of July holiday, and very patriotic, those Connecticut people over there.
Oh, those East Coasters. They know how to do it.
Very patriotic, and so it was really fun. They have lovely, lovely homes in New England over there, and Ellen's family was super hospitable and nice, and Ellen was just, grateful that we were there. And the fireworks show that was, right in front of our faces. The neighborhood gets together, and they do their own fireworks show.
Oh, wow.
And they spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on their own private fireworks display.
Burning that old money.
Burning old money. It was like, oh my God, it was fantastic. It was awesome. And it was hot in Connecticut. So we spent the 4th of July there and then went to New York and hung out there for a night.
Oh, you went to the city?
Yeah, we went to the city.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. We're not going to go back east on going to the city.
Duh.
Come on now. Queen ShanShan has to be nationally known.
She has to get out and about. Throw that blue hair around.
And the blue hair was thrown around because, again, the wigs were off during that visit.
Like a strip of white and red as well.
Oh, come on now. I'm a 47-year-old woman.
I don't know.
I can't be hanging out with no blue.
I think you could do it.
The blue is already enough. The Patriot, it's enough. So we had a good time, and the community that we were at in Ellen's community, very highfalutin too.
Oh, it sounds like it.
Beautiful houses. It's just really nice, and the people were just so nice. It was a great experience, and again, we went to New York spent the night there, and we did this little off-Broadway show. It's called The History of Drinking. It was meh. Because we didn't want to spend $250 on a ticket to go see Hadestown, which I've loved to see, or the new Ain't Too Proud to Beg production.
Right.
But those tickets were $250 each.
Next.
I can't. So we'll wait until it comes to the Pantages here in LA. So thank you, Ellen, for a good time, and it was really, really good. Edward, what did you end up doing for the holiday?
Well, after I stopped crying, no, we went to Palm Springs.
Stop crying.
I didn't feel either of the earthquakes.
Wow.
Oh.
Neither one of them. I was in a car each time. So on the 4th of July, was that the day that we had one? Mm-hmm. We were going to brunch, started blowing up on Facebook, didn't feel it. And then the next night we were driving into Palm Springs because we stayed in Palm Desert this time. Bougie.
Yeah, very.
So drove into Palm Springs. The 7-1 hit and didn't feel it. Driving again. But we went to Palm Springs, had a great time.
Just you and Danny?
Yeah, and drove back on Saturday.
Nice, good.
Yeah. And then I saw a friend from Haley's mom.
Oh, good, wonderful.
She was in town, and so I got to hang with her.
Hey, Haley.
She was the OG. She's like one of the original friends from
She's beautiful
a
too.
long time ago. Yeah. Saw
Good
that.
for you.
Yeah. So that's about it.
Wadooah, we're going to introduce you in a minute, but what did you do for the holiday?
I was just trying to do things like unpack my suitcase that took a couple days, and I started putting together my aquaponics because I'm planning for the zombie apocalypse. So I want to have this whole ecosystem where I'm able to grow my own food, and but there was something anyway. So I'm still trying to put that together. Everything is together, I should say, but the pump isn't flowing. So.
You're a prepper. I think that's a term now, right?
I don't want to say prepper because that brings in all kinds of crazy, I mean,
conspiracy theories.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, so yes, I am a prepper in terms of just being prepared, but I'm not. I do think about moving off grid, but
I do too.
No,
We should talk after the show.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But more than anything, I just want to be prepared. You know, like, and so when the earthquakes hit, I mean, especially I was all traveled out. I'd just come back from World Pride, but so I was happy to be home and get some time with my little man, my little fur kid. But yeah, so when they hit, I had after being scared and traumatized, I was like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. This is the right way. I mean, and I joke about it, and people laugh at me about it, but I'm like, yeah, and I bet people would come and find me and they need some food.
And you're going to be backpacking it on the road, not being in that car, like,
yeah, I got
Walking Dead and being
two multiple go bags.
Right?
I have to raise this point, though. Have you considered getting a gun?
Ooh. God dang, Edward just got into it.
Question.
Because I'm considering it.
I do think about it. I
Yeah.
mean, I think where I'm at is that I would probably go to a range just to get more familiar with it.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Before I actually
Before you actually commit to
it.
get it and getting it.
But I mean, it's a reality. It's unfortunate.
It's kind of a thing that you
Heather,
have to think about.
My Heather, and her husband Corey went to a range type school, and I don't know if it's by Pahrump, Nevada. It's like an hour or so away from Vegas.
Oh yeah.
They had the best time.
Yeah.
They said it was intense training. Mm-hmm. It was a 4-day type of class, and you pick your gun and you learn how to shoot, and
wow.
you get comfortable with holding a gun, the holster. You practice with the targeting, and apparently the school is very highfalutin. It's really expensive, but it's intense. And she was probably. I think she said she was like just a few women, but mostly men were there. And I'm like, she's like, girl, you got to go. You can meet your husband over there. I'm like, I don't know if I want to meet my gun-toting husband.
It's like Westworld.
And a gun school. But she's like, ooh, there were some good-looking guys there. And I'm like, oh, God. Maybe I'll just stay single.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, also,
guns are not my favorite.
They're not my favorite either, and especially when you think about its ability to end somebody's life, to put somebody's life out. I mean, that's a real big philosophical struggle for me. And so to get a gun, just to have it for so I'm then investing more time in thinking about what other things can I have. But so
that's a whole new podcast, to be honest with you, because we could talk about gun control and gun awareness and gun ownership, which yes, we do have the right for, but there is that conscientious morality to it as well, that you are protecting your life, but you are killing someone else.
Yeah,
your life is more important, absolutely. So it's that pulling the trigger, knowing that
I just want to damage somebody's kneecaps. I don't really want to kill anybody.
Yeah, shoot them
just
in
don't
the
take
leg
my.
or something.
Well, that's part of the training, and probably going to a range school, so just to shoot them in the leg or in their dick. Right. And make sure that they're paralyzed instead of shooting them in the head.
But then we come full circle now. Then if you're not going to shoot them, I mean, you're not actually. Then why not just choose something else?
Because if they have a gun, so you're protecting. It's gun versus knife versus gun, or a bat. Because I always thought too, put a bat by my bed. God, how do you know the subject? Dang it, Edward! Put a bat by your bed. But if they have a gun and shoot you, what is the bat going to do? And she had a good point. Like Heather brought up a good point. She's like, if you were being robbed, what are you going to do, Shannon?
But you were just giving the example of shooting somebody in the leg. So if they have a gun and you shoot them in the leg or in the dick, then they shoot you back. Then that's what I'm saying. Like if you're not going for,
be sure to shoot first.
Yeah, be sure to shoot first. That's your defense.
Or swing first.
That's my defense, Your Honor.
Yeah, okay.
Just be prepared, right?
All right, we're already going off the cuff.
I know. I'm like, wait,
episode's already over.
This is not that.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and we're going to hear from our wonderful sponsors, and we're going to get into it with Wadooah.
I can't believe this is happening.
What's going on, Edward?
I want to remodel my home and I can't find a contractor that will return my call. And I'm nervous about hiring one. I just don't want to be ripped off.
Well, I'm glad you told me. I just remodeled my own home and landscaped the backyard, and it's beautiful. RB Paving and Landscape Design. Look at my pictures.
Whoa, they did a phenomenal job for you and your family. What do they specialize in?
They specialize in concrete, asphalt, and landscape design. They made my backyard amazing with a custom-made fire pit and water feature. They even planted new trees and plants in the backyard, and it looks fabulous. Now we can enjoy our yard in the summertime and have cocktails.
I need them. What's their number and web address?
Ask for Ruben or Priscilla at 760-947-4191, or you can find them online at www.beltranpavingandlandscape.com. They serve the High Desert, San Bernardino County, and greater Los Angeles areas. And tell them Queen ShanShan sent ya, hunty. So, Wadooah, we're going to get into who you are. And yes, and the life of being a TV executive of Warner Media, which is the conglomerate, the mother company of TNT, TBS, TrueTV, right?
Actually, AT&T is the mother company.
Oh, the
of
mother.
Warner.
Oh, they're the mother.
The mothership.
They're the
yes,
Queen Mother.
Yes, Queen Mother, AT&T.
Yes.
So Warner Media is comprised of Warner Brothers, HBO, and the Turner Networks. So it's Cartoon Network, TBS,
Huge.
TNT, Adult Swim,
Huge.
TrueTV. Yeah.
Okay, and you are also a documentarian. You created your own movie. You directed and wrote your own movie, Gaze of the Beholder, Gaze, which is funny because you're gay. So it's like...
You get my humor.
Right.
That was on purpose.
So I wanted to make sure that was spelled out. So people like Gaze of the Beholder,
Yeah.
what? But also Gaze of the Beholder. So we're going to talk about that movie and at the society's view of beauty, the outside beauty, and what it means to you, what it meant to you growing up, and what it means to us now in this day and age. Speaking of beauty, Lady Gaga has created her new makeup line. It launches this Monday, which is, I didn't even know it was called Prime Monday. Amazon launches their new Prime Monday
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
with the celebration of Haus
Marketing
Laboratories, which it's from Lady Gaga's great mind, Haus Laboratories, spelled Haus. We're going to talk about that. And then, because this is a travel segmented show, travel, beauty, culture, and food, we're going to talk about obscure places. We haven't spoken about that, and this is perfect time because it's summer, right?
Yes, it is. Time to travel.
It's time to travel. So let's get into it. Wadooah, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Thanks
now
for
that
being here.
it's the end of the day. It's beautiful, wonderful. Thank you for
Yes.
having me.
Oh, you're so
and
welcome.
My little Bailey as well.
Yes, and Bailey, her doggy's here.
He's crashed out. He's
Yay!
like, whatever,
And he's very
Mom.
comfortable
sweetie.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you? So speaking of, we just tapped on it. What exactly do you do? What is your title?
So I am director of communications, and I do corporate communications for TBS and TNT, and soon TrueTV, since we're all coming together. And so it's, I work in the television industry or the entertainment industry, but yeah, I'm a communications executive or person or whatever, with aspirations of being a creative, a professional creative.
And so you work in Burbank at the Warner Brothers studios, right?
I work in Burbank, so our office overlooks the lot. So
That's awesome.
Then we have access to the lot. So I had a friend from one of my former classmates from Gainesville, and she and her family were taking a summer trip. Speaking of travel. And her daughter is interested in getting into the industry. She's actually, I think she said a junior, sophomore in college. So, or I think a junior. So it was great to be able to say, okay, well, maybe see if we can get some access to the lot and just.
You showed her.
And showed her.
Yeah,
Was she just wowed?
Yeah, it was a cool day. I mean, because I geek out about that and nerd out, because I'm
Right.
like, ooh, this is.
So awesome.
Backstage at the magic show, and
It
she
is.
just totally soaked it up. So
That's nice. So
Yeah.
Are you going to be her mentor?
If she wants me to, I told her, that I'm here for questions if she needs me. I mean, I just know, being a girl, when I was a little girl growing up in Gainesville, Florida, and I said I wanted to write, direct, and, create content and stories for the television and film. If somebody were able to do that for me, I know, who knows what I'd be doing now.
Right.
Not that I'm not grateful for where I am and what I am doing, but I think we should pay that forward.
Absolutely. So speaking of paying it forward, I want to say thank you to Fabrice for introducing me to you. I met you a few months ago at the.
Fabrice.
Hi, Fabrice. We love you. You and Eric. I've known Fabrice for about 6-7 years now, and I used to be a member of the LAGC, but I am involved in all other things. And as a woman of business, people always ask me, why did you join a gay and lesbian chamber of commerce? So because I'm a businesswoman, whether I'm straight or gay, honey, the gay community has money.
Your pink dollars, your green dollars, your
dollars.
All those
I don't
colors.
care if it's purple, pink, and red, and green, and with sparklies.
As long as it's legit money.
Yes, you're here. We're here to shake hands and make deals. And so I went to the panel to this conference, which was really cool, and I met you. And you were on the panel speaking about social media and digital media, the age, and how the LGBT community has contributed to the rise of that. That was a really cool panel that you were on.
And Carmen Carrera.
Carmen Carrera was the panelist. That's right.
Yeah,
next
I
to you.
know in one of your most recent podcasts, you mentioned wanting to get her on the show. I'm like,
Yes.
oh, yeah, she was on the panel.
Yes, she was. I've been reaching out to her, so I'm hoping she wants to be on the show. But that's how I met you, and I was really intrigued by your presence because you were one woman besides Carmen Carrera. You're the only person on the panel as a woman of color, and you're gay, you're queer. So let me make sure. You want to be preferred, and I hate to use labels, but we are in a label-y society.
Right.
Do you want to be called queer or lesbian or gay?
I, being of the older school, answer to all of those, but I'm leaning more into queer because it's more inclusive, and but I don't get upset, and if I call myself a lesbian or if I say I'm gay or somebody else does, they're all labels at the end of the day. I know what I am, and if that
Easy, Popeye.
I am what I am.
I know what I am. I am what I am.
My spinach horror.
I just dated myself.
I
Popeye.
dated myself. I'm right there with you.
Right? This is crazy. I know, it's crazy. So with that being said, what was your upbringing back? Because I want to go into your history. You're from Gainesville, Florida. Black woman, Muslim background, correct?
Yes.
Very conservative.
Raised Muslim.
In Florida?
And in the South. It was great.
God, was that
believe in Jesus?
You don't believe in Jesus Christ?
Yes.
How was that for you?
It was terrible. I
know it had to be horrible.
Oh yeah. When I watch things, especially now that people are talking about bullying as a thing, and
yes.
that was that was.
And black Muslims, hardcore.
Yeah. Nation of Islam, because my parents converted back in the day when all the kids were doing it. And it was a sense of it was a way of finding community and just getting not being pushed into a certain way of life. And so Muslims are clean. They don't drink, don't smoke, and
don't eat the swine.
Don't eat this. Yeah, I still don't eat. I can't eat it. Even if I wanted to.
You can't eat a piece of bacon.
It will mess me up. If I eat Mexican food sometimes and it's all prepared on the same
that's
thing.
Right, with the lard.
Yeah, with the lard, or even if a little piece of carnitas gets in with my
and it messes up your stomach.
For
really
5 days sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't know what I would do without pieces of bacon.
We should probably all live that way.
It's different if you've never had.
I know, you're right.
You didn't grow up. I grew up eating beef bacon and turkey bacon, so I'm like that. So those are good. But
and you have brothers and sisters?
I have brothers and sisters, and I would say there's 5 of us. I'm the oldest girl. There's the boys bookend the girls in the middle, and I think with me being growing up being other, it really, I think my experience was different than the other 4. It's definitely was a it's made me who I am today. And I appreciate that because I know the struggle of an other and what it's like to not be included and not feel like you're a part of anything, because I wasn't really part of the Black community because I didn't eat the soul food and I didn't go to church. And, definitely wasn't white, or, so it's like, so who are you? And you don't have other kids that you can bond with, and we weren't really allowed to go play or do things with other kids who weren't
That
like
weren't
us.
Muslim?
Yeah.
So you're already compartmentalizing your life at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And do you already feel a different way about yourself sexually as well when you were that young?
Well, at that age, I mean, we didn't even talk about sex. I mean, my family, if there's if we're watching something on TV, and I mean, like, our TV viewing was limited to things that were either, PBS, or they were old black and white movies. Things that we weren't going to be influenced by, pop culture. So sometimes people are like, oh, Princess Bride. I'm like, never saw it. Sorry. And I had to catch up on things like 16
Culture
Candles.
stuff.
So I mean, sex. So the idea of even, liking another woman, being attracted to another woman was on. I mean, I knew that was forbidden. That's forbidden. So it was like that one was compartmentalized way the hell down there.
Yes. Are your parents still with us?
They are still alive. Yes.
Okay. And so when you came out to your mom and dad?
No. He is not in our lives.
Okay, so your dad is not. Your mother is.
Yes.
Okay, so when you came out to your mother, how was that?
And so by that time, I mean, I was, it was, I was just getting comfortable with myself, and I was like in between sophomore, junior year of high school, of college. And I just realized I just was getting very depressed, really sad, and I just couldn't figure out why. And there was also a lot of stuff that was around the time that my family was imploding at home too. So I was like, I went to a counselor on campus, and so I figured I would use them to talk about all the stuff that's going on with the family, to give myself brain space to figure out what's going on with me. And so when I did that and I felt better, that's when I started coming out to people. And my mom was probably one of the last people in my immediate circles to come out to. My siblings were great. They were like, most of them were like, yes, and I think my older brother was mad that I had waited on him, that I told other people before him, which is great, and I love him for that. But yeah, my mom, it was funny. In the first conversation, it was a struggle because I think she went from anger. She was like, "Why Wadooah?" And I'm like, "Why what?" And she's like, "Why?" She couldn't even finish the why of it.
Why do you like girls?
Yeah, and I was just like, why? And then she got angry. She cried. She was shocked. And then by the time we ended the phone call, she was okay, I mean, at least for that moment. But I mean, there was still a lot of work and over the years that had to happen. And
it wasn't an instant. It wasn't a sitcom.
It wasn't a sitcom. Everybody wasn't all like, oh, in the end, the credits roll. And
same with my mom. This
and,
is so familiar.
And I mean,
so
even though
familiar.
she's much better with it now, I know that she still struggles with it on some level.
Well, my parents, my brother came out when he was in his mid-20s, and my dad said, "Oh, it's just a phase," And my parents are just like, my mom and dad are 79 years old. How old is your mom?
She is 60.
So they're old school. They're in the same generation.
Yeah.
And so, and again, being very hardcore Christian, it took them a while to accept that my brother is gay. But I'll be honest with you, we all knew.
Yeah.
We all knew. It's just that he had to come to his grips and had to admit. We're talking about this because we just finished Pride.
Well, and I was going to say real quick, what's funny is that my mom, by this time, we had all left the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
And she found.
Oh, she did too?
Oh, yeah. Like, we all left it. But my mom has always been more aligned with spirituality, or trying to,
still cling to that life of terms of cleanliness and stuff like that.
And just finding community. So she actually got into the Church of the Pentecost.
Oh.
And so when I was living in San Francisco and we were kind of having another go round, she told me well, you're possessed by the evil spirit of homosexuality. And I was just
What?
like, who are you right now? We didn't even grow up with this stuff. What are you talking about? But that is that, evil spirit of homosexuality.
There's an evil
That's the
spirit
thing.
of homosexuality. The Pentecost religion teaches that.
Well, at least
Just
that
religion does.
Some
Oh.
religion, yeah.
That's
yeah.
horrible.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just.
Oh my goodness. Well, I want to go back to God, there's so much to talk about. I want to go back to your name is beautiful,
Oh, thank you.
and it's Arabic. And what does it mean?
It my first name means the loving, and Wali means the nearest friend.
Yeah. So I put in my notes. I thought you, for some reason, I remember you saying in your videos that I watched that you were brought up Muslim, but immediately what I thought about was Baptist, because in the South is Baptist. You know, my mom was
That's me.
right. My mom's from
Southern
Mississippi.
Baptist girl.
My mom was Southern Baptist as well. So again, coming out, and especially it being raised Muslim, I know that had been hard for you. How did you find friends that you could hang out with that were okay with you being a black girl in Gainesville, Florida?
Yeah, I mean, because clearly we were cut off from a lot of things. So I'm a nerd. I read a lot, and we were required to get good grades, and so I was in a lot of honors classes, and and so I had my home life and I had my school life, and so while I was at school, I would hang out with all my school friends, and that would be mostly the people that I had the same classes with, or was in band with, because I was also a band nerd.
So
I also saw in your documentary that your mother was hard on you guys. She pushed you guys.
Yes, yeah,
So
she owned it too.
on your mother
Yeah.
to like make you guys succeed and
Good
Succeed
for her.
and don't believe the hype, and
Good for her.
like ask questions, and I think that's why I'm a prepper.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with your mother a little bit. I think now. I loved your mom on the show.
So in the college years, you did come out, and then I would have a question, because you said you were a band nerd, you were nerdy. The nerd part of you had a imagination in terms of maybe the fantasy world. Is that what led you to be in the entertainment industry?
I mean, the stories were how I escaped. I mean, especially even so, if we were at home, you're at home with 4 other kids, and there's really not a lot of privacy, and
that's right.
like if you're under the eye of Sauron, then there's really not a whole lot you can do.
No, I'm so nerdy. I know what you're talking about. The Hobbit. I already know what you're talking about, because my parents too. We could only watch 2 hours of TV a day, so we were
My dad would
huge
come
book
home
nerds.
and touch the TV to make sure that it wasn't warm. So we
I loved
watched
it too. My mom was saying, she said, I can touch the TV when it's warm, because before we got home and she got home
like
from
blowing
work.
on it.
No, we could not turn. We had to make sure we were. And my mom put the fear of God on me and my brother, because she would beat our butts.
Yes,
but we
that
couldn't
was the
watch
thing.
TV, and we had to read, and we had to read the Bible, and we had to do all this stuff. So, but we also had a huge imagination because of that. Well, so there's the flip side of that.
Yeah.
Our imagination grew. My brother is an artist, because we had to draw, we had to read all the time, and that's why he is the way he is right now. And we love movies of fantasy movies and stuff. That is what makes you want it. That's what made you want to come out to LA and be in the industry.
Yeah, well, I mean, LA was never on the radar. I knew I ended up in Los Angeles, by this path, this magical journey. I mean, I knew I wanted to do it. At the time, looking the long view from Gainesville, Florida to anything. If nothing else, I thought maybe New York, but yeah, I mean, like, that was my escape. That was my my activity. I entered kindergarten knowing how to write, so I had actually written some comic books. So you
cool.
take a piece of paper, you fold you fold them over, and you can illustrate them, and they have like a little book. So I mean, and then my dad, he was a photographer, so he was a shooter. So I mean, I would see a lot of his pictures, and pictures tell, even still pictures tell just an incredible story. So I was fascinated with just that, just capturing those scenes, any scenes that were not the scenes that I was seeing.
Right. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What'd you play in band?
Because little girl, that's a whole thing. My mom used to make me wear a dress at least once a week.
You were a tomboy.
Well, not only that, but I think she always knew.
Uh-huh.
So she didn't want me. She didn't want me to play sports. She's like, you'll get, the coaches will put you in a gym and you'll get muscles. So I was like, fine, I'll, I play so I wanted to be in band, but they're like, okay, you get the flute or the clarinet, because that's what girls
I played
play.
the clarinet.
I play the clarinet.
Y'all both played clarinet?
Yeah.
And then in concert, so when I got to high school, you had marching band, but then you also when football season was over, you have concert band. So I would play the bass clarinet and the contrabass clarinet,
Oh,
just to mix
okay.
it up. Just make it.
I always
you
thought
were in band?
Yeah, I was in band. Oh yeah, I was.
I was a
total,
trumpet player.
Yeah, I was in band in junior high and
let's
beginning
get
high school.
That's right.
And then I was a singer because I loved to sing, and so I did band and choir. But I couldn't do the flute; it was too hard. I was looking at the fingers, doing this, but going and holding the clarinet was so easy to learn, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So, and I liked the way it sounded.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, if it's fine. It's just not. I wanted to play trumpet or.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I only played trumpet because literally my brother dropped out of band and I had that instrument available to me. My parents were like, if you're going to drop out too, you're just going to play that. Get to high school and we'll talk about getting you a real horn.
Yeah, no,
And I sure did. I went all the way through.
Well, you know what? These band nerds need to take a little break, so we'll get back into Miss Wadooah in a minute after these special words.
Circus.
Today, I'm finally an adult. You know why? Because I got life insurance, y'all. I got my life insurance policy through ShanInsure.com. That's spelled ShanInsure.com. Be sure to check them out because they are a full-service licensed insurance agency. And you can be an adult too. Be sure to tell them that Queen ShanShan sent you.
So, Wadooah, after college, and you decided to move to, not after college, because you did some other things, right? When did you move to Los Angeles?
Because I was discouraged from being a starving artist, I actually chose the profession of, I chose to study in Mass Comm, School of Mass Communications at the University of South Florida, and got my degree in public relations. And I found that there was a degree of architecting some stories around, corporate stories or brand stories. So that was my way to be creative. And so when I graduated, I spent the first year out of college working for the Tampa Tribune, doing special events and promotions. And that could be anything from, movie premieres in Tampa, or concerts or fairs. And after a year of kicking ass, they're like, okay, here's your 2% raise, and go out and do it again. And because nobody moves the good jobs, in the other places. So I was like, what are the top 5 cities I can see myself living in? And I said, okay, Boston, New York, Seattle, San Francisco, Atlanta. And I'd already spent, was too close to Atlanta. And so I really wanted something different. I'm like, okay, but where doesn't it get too cold? Because I'm from Florida.
Right.
And where I can't live in snow. So I picked San Francisco, thinking, it's California,
cool,
and
honey.
And plus at the time, even before, because I had newly come out, I was like, I keep hearing this thing about gay Mecca, so I feel like I'll have the opportunity to be around other people and not be such the crazy unicorn. I moved from Tampa to San Francisco, and the coolest part of town.
Yes.
Yeah, so I moved to San Francisco at the height of the .com, when it was easier to find a job than it was to find a place to live. I slept on a friend of a friend's sofa for several weeks until I was able to move into the house, but I was already working.
That's great.
Yeah, I started working for it was a PR agency that specialized in doing PR for the nerdiest, deepest tech that was happening in San Francisco in January of '99. That's when I started doing that. So yeah, and yeah, through the years, it's changed. It's been an evolution. It was so I actually had dialed down the idea of I never let it go. Being a creator. And I would I treated myself to picking up the guitar. So I started I went to Haight-Ashbury and I bought a acoustic guitar, and found a teacher. And then also I would do writing. I'm like, well, I'm in the city and people are doing the spoken word thing, so let me just try and do a little of that. So I was, and I was still shooting, but always shooting. there was different companies like my agency helped launch Ask Jeeves, which is now Jeeves.
I remember that.
I remember AskJeeves.com.
Yeah,
absolutely. That was our Google back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, and I love this idea that here's a
so
search
funny.
engine trying to humanize the internet, as
Right.
because it was a different experience then than it is now. And so trying to tell the stories of making it relevant and making it exciting and helping people, taking the fear out of that. We had a stamps.com a competitor called eStamp. So, but we there was those companies and a couple more smaller ones that were taking on the U.S. government for the Postal Service. For the right to be able to, to buy online postage at home or online.
No wonder why Amazon is what it is today.
Yeah, I mean, but
amazing.
And so even though I joke about, I won't even talk about domains and online and stores and rack servers. That's a whole other podcast. But maybe Sun Microsystems is here. No, but just thinking about all these different evolutions of the way that we consume media now, it was like it was like learning the back end of what I do now.
I mean, you seriously have been there from the very beginning of the .com age. You also, in my notes, and I found out in your history that you were instrumental into the launch of making Facebook public,
Yes.
making it not just for the college students, but taking it Facebook to a whole different level.
Absolutely.
How was that experience?
It was. I mean, I love being in these moments, and so our agency at the time. I will never forget that we were on a call and we were listening to a call between an analyst and Mark Zuckerberg back in the day. So when I watch, The Social Network, and I look
the
at
movie, The Social Network. Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's those moments I'm like, and this is about the time that we were in here. That yes, we did see those cards that said "I'm CEO, bitch." Yes, I think I don't know if I still have one somewhere around in my piles of stuff, but yeah, I mean, like we were trying to figure out help this company that's the new darling of Silicon Valley, take their platform that's already been massively successful, and open it up to other people, even though they're doing it. And at this point, Friendster was on the decline because MySpace had come up and taken over everything, and so it's like, and how do you differentiate the Friendster experience from the MySpace, from the Facebook, and
the Napster,
Was Sean Parker on all of those?
No, not all of them.
He was Napster and Friendster?
Yeah.
He was
Or just
Napster, and then he
Facebook?
joined Facebook.
Okay.
He, as an advisor of some kind, but yeah, and so it's like I said, and that's what keeps your storytelling sharp. So if you can get people interested, if I can get my mother interested in something that I'm doing in this tech space, or help connect people, then it's been exciting. So and it's
really
fun,
cool.
but then it appeals to the nerd in me. So
Yeah, sure. Me too.
I want to talk about this really cool video during the Pride Month celebration. Your company, Warner Media, wrote this great piece about you, and it had 25 other people that they were interviewing that were out, the LGBT community that works for Warner Media. And I think that was so cool that they set out to make this production for you, and they called you They called you Wonder Woman in the article. You saw the video, Edward, right? It was like a 25-minute video, and they pinned you Wonder Woman in the article. Why do you think they felt that you were the Wonder Woman and the leader of the community working at Warner Brothers? I keep saying Warner Brothers, Warner Media.
I really have to give it up to Valerie, the writer. She just really nailed. I mean, like, we had such a great conversation because I was nervous. I don't do this kind of thing. I'm in PR, so I'm behind the curtain.
You're behind that. You're not always the spokesperson.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm pushing others out. So I'm a private person. So, but at my company, I was one of the co-founders of our LA chapter of this group called Turnout. So when we were all Turner, Turner had business resource groups within the company, employee resource groups. And so, I mean, something for Black professionals, something for vets, something for disabled. And I'd seen, our Atlanta chapter was very active, and and I'm, here I am coming into this company from doing things with the community, just because I was doing some freelance and working with other queer groups. And I just was like, well, this is we're here. Like, and I see other, I see HBO out, I see Netflix. So I, talked to two other colleagues, coworkers of mine, and we were all thinking that same thing and having some of the same conversations, not all together. So we came together and said we want to start Turnout LA. And that was 2 years ago, and so even so I'm one of the co-founders, and I think that position of being in communications, especially corporate communications, as well as being invested in something that's going to help our community, I have a lot of visibility into what's going on across the board, and so and I know the people to go back to and so I think during Pride Month, as we're trying to connect the dots, and especially now we're reaching out across AT&T and their group called League at AT&T, which is very active. So I think I just was on the radar, and at that point they're like, yeah, so and Wadooah, and we want you to be one of our spotlights.
That's great.
That's amazing.
You launched a streaming service, an LGBTQ plus streaming service called Reverie, and you were instrumental in creating a new media-based web series, which is funny because we had, speaking of web-based series, we had 2 weeks ago, I don't know if you heard that episode with Tim Leary and Robert Rice. They're creating their web series. They just got the green light with their Seed and Spark crowdfunding efforts. Called Demon Hunter. The series is called Demon Hunter. And they're going to start production pretty soon. So we're super excited. So when I read this, I was like, oh, you had a web series too.
Well, actually, the team came together, the Reverie team came together because we were working on existing web series called Boys in Tech. Damian Pelletoni was the host and creator of that show, and we met on a panel a couple of years ago. And
people on panels, it's a good networking.
It's a good networking. And
it is.
Hit it off, and so then we started talking about this idea of like there should be a queer, like a company, like we should have our own.
Yeah, their web series is a queer horror movie.
And so the in between was a web festival. So Out Web Fest was because we noticed here in LA, that there. Here we are in Los Angeles, and there's film festivals, but there's really nothing that was devoted to or looking at the short form, and especially queer short form content. And so while we were putting things together for Out Web Fest to do this big reveal of the first ever festival like this in Los Angeles, we were also using that as our way of discovering content and so we would also talk to the creators about, hey, and so we're going to launch Reverie, at the web festival, and that we put on that year it was at AFI.
Nice.
And so we used the Out Web Fest as the backdrop to launch Reverie, and we were able to start the groundswell of getting in touch with creators because all of a sudden they were sending,
How's that going now?
I'm deep in Warner Media-ness now.
Right.
But I mean, I know they just did something with Trevor Live, and I mean, we still see each other in the same places, and I ran into Damien and Aaliyah Daniels, who's the CBO. She is an ally, queer black. She's a black woman ally. And the team is very diverse like that at the Glaad Awards earlier this year. So good. I mean, and I think from posts that some of them were in New York too for World Prides, but it was so big and it was like a different.
Let's talk about that. Before I go into that, so what's the difference between being a part of the Out Web Fest versus the big Outfest annual film festival that comes in LA every year?
So Outfest, and we love.
That's a huge festival.
Huge festival. They actually just announced a new executive director, and it's kicking off next Friday on July 18th. We'll go see something.
Yay!
But what we saw was that like so many other of the big film festivals, that they were very much focused on the bigger names or bigger films.
Right.
I mean, so when you're a small independent creator who's maybe got a series on Snapchat or a series on Instagram, how can you compete with a bigger budget movie? And also, is that the place? I mean, if people are coming to a movie and expecting that lean back experience, whereas the short form is like a little bit more in munchable chunks. So
You know, they mentioned that show that was on Netflix called Special. Yeah, I think it was. Is he autistic or he has Asperger's?
No, he's got cerebral palsy.
Cerebral palsy, gay character who has cerebral palsy.
Last name's O'Connell.
And it's a web series type. It's not. It's on Netflix, but it's like it's very short formed, and with our short attention spans, we're getting pegged with that. Let's be honest.
That's what Quibi's about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Katzenberg's about to launch. I mean, and he believes in the power of the short form.
Uh-oh.
And, you know,
We're not
do
going to have
too,
these
really.
2-hour epic movies anymore. Do you
No,
think?
I mean what people are finding is that they want a little bit of everything, and so even when you're looking at like even the launch of our new streaming service, we're going to have original films and we're going to have limited TV shows. Like there's going to be the people that want more of that arc, the traditional arc of television of a season, and then there's the people that just want that great contained story. I mean, like at the end of the day, we want to be entertained. We want that
Absolutely.
cinematic experience, and I mean when we're looking at that kind of content, but when we're looking at things on our mobile devices or on iPads, and I hate to just call it iPad because there's more than one. They're not paying you. Come on.
Yeah, I know, right?
But so that makes more sense. I mean, like we're more willing to watch things in shorter form on smaller screens. But time and time again, the studies always show that we want to enjoy our content on the biggest screen in the house.
That's true, which is true. So, speaking of indie movies, you created your own. You had your own movie that you did, which is called Gaze of the Beholder.
Yes,
and I
Gaze.
enjoyed the film. You liked it, Edward?
I did like it.
Yeah. It's a movie about how society views beauty, inside beauty, outside beauty, mostly obviously outside beauty. And you produced it, you wrote it, you had Carson Daly on the show or in the movie. And I really liked his take on it because, he came from the TRL, the MTV age where he was super duper popular, and he was talking about
1999.
Right, and I remember watching
walked past
TRL
all the
every
time in Times
day.
Square. I was
That
like,
was
Coming from school, from high
That's what we
school,
did.
and I had a crush on him as well. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's Carson Daly. And he remember, and I remember in your documentary, he was talking about, what was the hot girls, and he was the man who said, yeah, that girl was hot and everything, but when you got to know that person was shallow. Your movie dealt with things that I deal with personally. Being a black, what'd you say?
I said that we all do. That.
Yeah, dealing. I'm raised in born in California, but raised in a very predominantly white neighborhood, just like you in Gainesville. I think we were the only black family in our schools for years, and so all my friends are white and Hispanic or mostly white, Caucasian. And with that being said, I'm the one who had the pigtails and the braids. And I didn't feel cute. I didn't feel accepted. I felt ugly. I felt different. And I did have friends, but, once in a while there was a boy who called me the N-word. I've never even heard the N-word ever when I was young until I was like in 6th grade. And I didn't even know what that meant. And he threw a rock at my head. And my friends raced after him.
I got rocks thrown at me the first time they used the N-word too.
Isn't that interesting?
Walking to school.
Wow, we have so much in
my
common.
brother, like as a kid, like I think I was in elementary school.
Yeah, so that was part of my growing up of disowning myself and not feeling good about being pretty. And also I started gaining weight in my high school years too. So I have those issues of being overweight and not being pretty. And I really enjoyed your documentary because you really spoke to women of color. You spoke to women who were queer. You spoke to your good friend that was she was in the media. She had the pretty gray black hair. What was her name?
Oh, Danya.
Danya. And what was your motivation in terms of getting this movie out? Why did you want to do this particular documentary?
Well, I like I said, I never let go of this dream of I want to tell stories, and I don't want to just pin myself into a documentarian lane. That was just the easiest thing to do and the cheapest thing to do since I was self-funded and and also working full time. You can
use your own money to do this movie.
I did, and paid people and food, like on my shoots. But I mean, like, you can pick up and put down a documentary over time. And so I just, was like, if I could tell my own story, I wasn't being a mouthpiece for somebody else, like, what could I talk about? And I always thought it was interesting, when you hear, especially, by this time I'm in Los Angeles, and the company I was working for was based in Santa Monica, so you see the beautiful people all the time. People. And so I was just like, well, what does that mean? And especially growing up and being raised Muslim, where you don't talk about beauty, you don't show your skin, you're not,
Oh, that's right.
you don't objectify other people, you don't objectify yourself. So I am out of my own body, I don't even know what that means.
From there to California,
yeah, and
where
then
it's all
also,
about face value.
Yeah, and but the funny thing is, people were just starting to say, you're beautiful. And I was just like, well, what's changed about me? Because I still feel like the nerd, still feel like the outsider, outcast. I don't, wear makeup other than my eyeliners. Thank you, Sephora, the Glitter Black number 9.
Did you hear that, Sephora? Shout out to Sephora. Hashtag Sephora.
I am all about it. Perfect. So I mean, but not. I'm not a girly girl, and it took me a while to get comfortable into just showing up as myself. And I think so I wanted to understand, like, but people are seeing that as beautiful. I'm like, well, that's interesting. And so I started asking people. Originally the movie, the idea for the movie, I was going to make it. It was going to be a short, and it was going to explore that topic in a thoughtful way. But originally it was called TNA the movie, so because I thought, because my throwaway question to people was, "Are you a T person or an A person?" Because I even when I was making the movie, I had no plan to put myself in it. That I'm not one of those people that's like, I made a film and I starred myself in it. Right. So I just thought of a question that's disarming, that people can have fun with. And everybody has an answer for it, but the really big reveal came with the follow-up, the why. If they gave me an answer, the why, and what I would hear from them. Oh, because I really never liked my teeth, or this makes my butt look big.
Yes, and you did the street interviews. Where was that? It looked like it was Venice, huh?
I shot in guerrilla style in Santa Monica, and in Gainesville, Florida.
Oh, you did?
And in San Francisco.
Oh, so you traveled all over the place.
I tried to cover the cities that I lived, because I wanted to get that experience. I deliberately, and at the time people were like, "You're making a movie about this. You know how many documentaries about?" I'm like,
so?
But I don't know if anyone has asked that question. Like, can you look in the mirror and say that you're beautiful? Because if you can't, then you can't expect society.
Hello.
You can't expect your parents. You can't expect anybody else to represent you or to think of you as beautiful if it doesn't start with yourself.
Oh my God. I am.
And I couldn't at the time. I when I realized I had to put myself, somebody pushed me in, and they're like, look in the camera, and I would laugh every single time.
And that's so funny. That was part of the documentary that was so hilarious, because you were laughing, your friends asking, or someone's off the camera asking you, do you feel that you're beautiful? And you're just laughing hysterical, because it was a nervous laugh for you.
Yeah, it was a nervous laugh, but it's also kind of just like,
hello,
throwing a brick at me or something. I'm just like,
you're
really?
gorgeous, yeah.
Well, like, if you never grow up, like you were saying, the way you grew up, you grow up with these blinders or these things, and it's like, I know how I feel about myself, and I know how I feel about other people, but I don't expect everybody else to. And I think, on the catharsis on the other side of that is actually seeing that people do, at the end of the day, feel that it's not what's on the outside, but on the inside.
Living in Los Angeles, I've been living here I'm from California. So I come from, everybody's fit, skinny, beautiful blonde hair, blue eyes. And that was what you see on television. That's what you see on music videos. That's what we were faced with all our lives. And I'm so glad that now we're seeing more people of color, people with disabilities on TV, having a voice, the LGBT community, period, having a voice. Because just on the shows that I'm watching now is just so wonderful to see not just one black character in a movie who's always a cop.
Right.
Or the detective.
Or the criminal.
Or the criminal. Or the gang member.
Yeah.
I'm actually seeing diverse characters being displayed on TV, or not just hearing rap music. But exploring that, because a lot of people feel that we need to still be in a box, unfortunately. And I've never been in that box.
Me neither.
Because we've always been raised to have all different types of friends. And that's why I have such an interesting, diverse amount of friends in my life. But for me, Shannon, I still am very insecure about myself, my weight. And what did I do this morning? I was in the dentist at 8 o'clock this morning getting my teeth whitened because I feel my teeth are yellow and ugly. Now, no one's told me my teeth are yellow and ugly, but I've been waking up in the last few years thinking my teeth are yellow and ugly. Now, it's also because, I like to drink some wine, I like my tea, whatever has contributed, but I also have naturally yellow teeth because my dad has naturally yellow teeth. And that's just
genetics.
The way it is.
Yeah.
They say those are the healthiest teeth.
That's what, really?
Yeah, I've heard
naturally yellow teeth? Well, then I guess there you go. I'm on
Well,
top of the
if it's
ladder.
true.
But it's not good enough for Shannon. So what I have to do is spend money to go get some bleaching done. But I'm always trying to improve myself. But am I improving myself because of Shannon? But am I improving myself because of what society is expecting me to do?
Well, and I think that's the work that we all have to do with ourselves. And I think if we all, I still, to this day, it's hard for me to watch that movie because it's so personal.
Your own documentary, it's hard to watch?
Yeah, just because it's so revealing. But I feel about it the way that I do about that article that was in the Warner Media blog. I'm like, it's my truth. And I think that, people that have watched it, or even what I found is that we lean into those things that make us feel good about ourselves. So I like perfume, like different smells. So I like hats and shoes. So I look at those things that make me feel like, okay, I don't know what the rest of me looks like, but these things check the boxes, and the rest of it doesn't matter anymore. And I think, and especially I think because at some point I stopped making myself wear dresses. I don't even have any high heel shoes in my house anymore. And when I dropped that facade, then it wasn't about making anybody else happy but myself. And then just kind of continuing. It's still work. It's not over. And
it's a self-discovery every day.
It's a self-acceptance. And I deliberately chose to not have a lot of, at first I was thinking there's a bunch of famous people in the public eye that that I could approach for this movie, but I really wanted it to be more everyday people, like approachable people, and people from my world that I actually knew, so that people could relate to that and spend less time like, wow, she's just so glamorous, and oh, how does she, because then you lose a little bit of that authenticity of the story. Like this is how we show up for a documentary shoot, and that's our glam.
Before you showed up today, Edward and I had a conversation about his take on your movie, and you made a really good point about your beauty and what you were down about yourself as a man. What was your situation?
Right. So, and since I've been listening to the show as we're taping it, I have another thing too. But my thing, when I was telling Shannon earlier, was I related to your show, but I was kind of disconnected as well, because I think, and I'm not trying to be sexist or anything like that, because it's more of for me, it was more of a girl thing, because I was never focused on my looks or anything like that, but I was focused on, this is from being considered dumb when I was a kid, because I had a learning disability and they didn't know it. But for me, it was like, I was never smart enough, it was like, I tried to not focus on the things that I was really genuinely good at. I focused on the things that I wasn't great at to try to be better, because I wanted to be smarter. I wanted to be smart. So that was always my thing. I could look in the mirror and be like, you're just not smart enough.
And I think that's your disconnect with the movie, because your thinking brain, where I was addressing the image the way that we see. And the only reason I say, and not to say that you're, but I know that I screened at the Austin, the Austin Film Festival. I'm getting the name of it wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
But and there was a former football player or somebody who was and he was a big man, straight man, and he came up to me afterward. And he was just like, thank you so much for this movie. I have struggled with the way that this is the I will say that at this film festival, when it started screening, there were people that our people that got up and walked out, which I was not surprised at, because this is, they see gay and it's a whole thing.
Oh.
So I expected that reaction, but I wasn't expecting this man, and who just was just so open and just shared all the stuff with me, because just him being other in a body way had given him other experience.
Right.
You know how I fixed some of this. This is the other thing that I didn't mention earlier. That just kind of I realized during this conversation was I fixed a lot of that by fashion. The way I dressed. I could always turn heads with what I wore.
Yeah.
So I was just like
you and your ascots.
Yeah, I would just I was a podunk kid from like Woodville, Texas, and but I knew what looked good. So that was a way of like drawing attention away from my deficits to something that
But it made you feel better, though.
that made me feel better. Yeah.
About yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's like swap out, whatever thing. At the end of the day, we struggle with things, these things that we've picked up along the way that make us feel inadequate and insecure, and it's that's the work that we have to get to. So I mean, like, regardless if it's weight, if it's a speech impediment, it's once we stop, punishing ourselves for being in those boxes and embracing those other pieces, the other stuff follows. So I was like 55 pounds heavier a couple years ago, and like right after watching Livestrong.com, of all things, a health and fitness site. And I went to the doctor, and she took my blood pressure, because I have high blood pressure. I've always had it since I was a kid.
For someone who doesn't eat bacon, you have high blood pressure.
Genetics. My family.
Genetics.
Yeah, on both sides of my family. So, so the combination. She said, I hate to prescribe this pill, this daily pill, to somebody so young, and she's like, well, you would do a lot better for yourself if you managed it with with being a little healthier. And I already thought that I was healthy, but I mean, now, I go to the grocery store, and I'm always looking at the back for not just less about the calories, but the sodium.
Right.
And I'm very cognizant of that.
How did you lose the weight?
I made I made choices. I made a lot of choices. Definitely having Bailey, where it gets me out.
So you have to walk every day.
Walking every day, multiple times a day. I drink water most of the time until it's time to drink my cocktail. Or I'll do tea. I've even most recently just cut back on coffee, so I don't even
Yeah, I
drink
stopped drinking coffee myself, too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just like those little changes, and then all of a sudden, I mean, actually, and I won't lie, using the Daily Plate, which is this app on Livestrong, and before I was like, I'm not a calorie counter, but the idea, once I was like, oh, I need to look at it like a bank. If I allot myself 2,000 calories a day, you don't want to ever go negative at the bank, so why am I going consistently negative? So, and then it's like, okay, well, I want that sweet thing or that latte, so, but in order to eat it, I need to go and walk for 15 minutes, go take the stairs,
and
so it would
put some money back in the bank.
Exactly. And literally, there were days that I was doing that. I'm like, because I was the thing was counting the count, and so I was like, dang it, now I'm like, I have to go walk for and I just go run. So literally, it was like that.
Everything about numbers.
Oh, it totally is.
Fascinating.
I meet with my trainer tomorrow, and she's gonna probably beat the crap out of me because I haven't. Actually, since the vacation, I was off my schedule, and I just been working on the podcast and my regular work, so I haven't even been in the gym in over a week. And I got to be held accountable for that, and I deserve a spanking.
That accountability.
And I've already lost a few pounds again. I'm testing part of the Instagram. Instagram, I'm telling you, they're so smart in their ads. Instagram, are you listening? I bought the Daily Harvest program, the home delivery.
Yeah.
So it's all frozen, and they have soups, and they have smoothies, and they have bowls, and they're delicious, and it's all vegan. All vegan. And I did a trial pair for like $90 or something like that, and it's delicious. But I've already noticed a change in my eating habits because I'm eating healthy, and it is about choices.
And you crave it. I mean, like when you start.
But girl, I'm gonna get those days where I feel like shit, and I want to have a burger, and I want to have a Snickers bar.
Absolutely, and I go for it.
And right?
Yeah. Mac and cheese, bring it on.
Mac and cheese. I want to acknowledge on your film the awards that you won and your accolades real quick. In 2013, you were selected for the 2013 Capital City Black Film
That was
Festival
the Austin one.
in Austin, Texas. Awarded third place in the documentary feature category, the Women's International Film and Arts Festival in Miami, Florida. The Imperfectu
Yeah.
International Film and Gender Studies Festival, and the Saint Tropez. That's love it.
Oh,
The Saint Tropez International.
The Imperfectu was in Tijuana.
That was in Tijuana, really?
Yeah,
Okay. The Saint Tropez International Film Festival in south of France, of course.
Nice.
Where the film has been nominated for 4 categories: Best Editing, Best Cinematography, Best Director of a Documentary, and Best Feature Documentary. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that one was
That's
great too because
awesome.
they actually, we had clips and people would come. I mean, and there was
You attended in these?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Of course. That's amazing.
During Cannes? Are you kidding
Are
me?
you kidding? Hell yeah. Good for you. And if how can we see these movies now? How does the public see these movies?
It's on Reverie right now and
Reverie.com.
Reverie.tv
.tv.
It will require a subscription.
Oh, okay.
That is our streaming service, the LGBTQ streaming service that was launched. And I actually, I have struggled because I've thought about turning it into curriculum. So many people talk to me about creating curriculum, and at the time I was taking a meeting at the American Film Festival in Santa Monica, and there was a guy that was like, I can get you on Netflix and Google and Amazon and they will do, and I was interested in that for a minute. But then, again, flipping into the nerd side of the brain, I was like, right, so my baby film is going to be up there against major blockbuster films, and I can't take on that kind of marketing and promotion for it to get seen. I don't know if it's worth it, especially if I explore the whole curriculum, because I can't watch it. I'll leave the room while it's screening, but I'll come back in at the end, and I love the Q&A, and I love talking to people and connecting with people after the movie, and so I think and people have said that it's helped them, and so I would like to figure out a way or come back. That's my to come back to. But then there's also all these other stories that I want to tell.
Yes, you have so many things to say and so many things to teach the world. So when you say you want to use it as curriculum, so you use it for that schools can use it for?
Yeah. I don't know if back when I was in school, every now and then they would have some big program that would come through, and so whether that's me as a speaker and doing a Q&A, or developing not DVDs anymore, like an online something that people can watch through
Webinars.
courses,
webinars.
Just webinars, exactly. Just something that so that more people can have this conversation, because like I said, just everybody just being able to talk about it creates a safe space, and it takes the stigma out of it, and I think that it gets us all to a better place.
Well, we want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And if you guys want to check out Wadooah's movie Gaze of the Beholder, go to reverie.tv and sign up for a subscription, and you can watch it there. Until then, we'll see other new projects from Wadooah coming out. Let's take a break.
Queen ShanShan, I hear you have a date tonight.
Why, yes, I do. And we're actually looking for a place to eat for dinner tonight. Any suggestions?
Yes, I know the perfect place. Ma's Italian Kitchen.
Great idea. They have an amazing seared salmon plate, grilled New York steak, and also baked chicken parmigiana.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You know what? I gotta tell them Queen ShanShan sent me. Hunty. I think it's apropos we're talking about beauty, because Lady Gaga has just launched her brand new beauty line called Haus Laboratories, and it's spelled Haus. House, like it's a German derivative of it.
She's Italian.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
But it's a whole art thing.
Yeah, it is very
House of
artsy.
Gaga,
Very much.
And I'm all about this. I'm for it. It's going to debut on Amazon.com during their Amazon Prime Day. And basically, Edward and I have talked about the beauty community and how all these celebrities diving into it. It's a very saturated market. And I saw another piece on the news, and someone was saying, is it too late for Gaga to get into something that's saturated? I don't think so. Beauty is in the gaze of the beholder, right? So it's like she claims that this is going to be the new generation, and I already see it. The marketing is superb. When you go to the website, to the Haus Laboratories website, you're seeing every rainbow of skin represented on this makeup. She's also saying this is a gender fluid makeup line.
Yes.
Hello, Lady Gaga, work with your gender fluidity.
Yes.
Okay, and you're seeing men with makeup, and we see that with other lines this day, like MAC Cosmetics and Patrick Starr and Jeffrey Cosmetics and Jeffree Star, Manny MUA. But when you have a woman, icon, celebrity like Lady Gaga pushing that envelope, congratulations to her. This is the actual quote from Lady Gaga when she did the press release, and she says, "When I was young, I never felt beautiful, and as I struggled to find a sense of both inner and outer beauty, I discovered the power of makeup. I remember watching my mother put her makeup on every morning, basking in the glow of her power to put on her bravest face as the hardworking woman she was. I then began to experiment with makeup as a way to make my dreams of being as strong as my mother become true. It was then that I invented Lady Gaga. I found the superhero within me by looking in the mirror and seeing who I wanted to be. Sometimes beauty doesn't come naturally from within, but I'm so grateful that makeup inspired a bravery in me I didn't know I had. I've come to accept that I discovered my beauty by having the ability to invent myself and transform. They said I was weird, but really I was just born this way." I mean, come on, Lady Gaga. Clap, clap, clap. Snap, snap, snap. And that's why I love her. And I just think I'm definitely supporting this brand for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, and she's just what we were just talking about. Find that thing that works for you.
Yeah.
And lean into it.
She's preaching individuality, inclusivity, creativity. The company's slogan is "Our house, your rules."
There you go. I mean, and so for somebody to tell Gaga, who was already entering a crowded market of music, I mean, she came out when Britney was at the height, or like
all the pop stars,
yeah, all pop. I mean, but she broke through.
She sure did.
And so if anybody's going to do it, and I think again it comes back to if you're another person, you can think and see the world a little differently.
Absolutely. What were you going to
She
say?
should have called it Poker Face Cosmetics.
So congratulations to Lady Gaga. Hey, Wadooah, what is your favorite song?
Bad Romance.
Is that your favorite Lady Gaga song? Yeah.
Oh yeah, and especially when I was living in WeHo, that was playing when that song came out, it was everywhere, and she was just so fierce and fire in that. So,
what is yours, Edward?
I think it's called "I'm on the Edge." On the
edge.
On the edge.
Edge of Glory.
I'm on the edge.
Oh, okay. Oh, good Lord.
Yeah,
what is wrong with us when we can't remember
senior moments?
That's your favorite song. You don't remember the name. You don't remember the words.
On the Edge. It's the Edge.
It's the Edge.
Yeah.
And so mine is
about her grandfather passing away.
Oh.
And he was crossing over, and she thought about that song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love all her songs, but I really, really liked her last album from the Joanne album.
Joanne was a great song.
And it's so funny in my car. When the minute I get in my car, the music, and when I put on iTunes, that's the first song that comes on every day. It's a really good, encouraging song because she's get your cigarette out and just, bust out and party. It's a great album. It's a good album.
I actually won one of her pedals at the Glaad Media Awards last year. So I have
Oh, really?
It was a pedal that she used for a tribute to Steve McQueen. In London at some big London music award. So, but I was like, I got her guitar pedals. Got those pedals.
So since we're talking about Lady Gaga and we're not doing a Madonna minute,
No, we're
did you lay your
Madonna.
eyes on Madonna while you were in New York Pride? Or
I
World
did.
Pride?
I did
Was
not.
no,
I did
you-
not. But,
What about at the Glaad Awards? Have you seen her?
She was at the New York Glaad Awards.
Ah, so you were
So
not this one.
Beyonce and Jay-Z were at the LA.
That's
so I
right.
did see them.
saw
Yeah,
them.
and they were incredible.
Was that
And-
awesome? Diana Ross was there too.
Oh my God! Yeah, so there were a lot of people there, but I mean, again, going back to what we were saying about how people in our community tend to have a problem with the queer community. It was so powerful not only to see Beyonce but Jay-Z up there.
Hello.
And they both said just beautiful, amazing things. And there was a meme that went around the internet after about, she's like, I can't remember the whole thing, but she's like, who you choose to sleep with and who you choose to take to Red Lobster, that's your business. And
Okay.
you know what I mean? And I mean, it's so black and white, but it's spot on. And
That's
so,
true.
And yeah, no, it was epic just to see them. So.
Well, that was our Lady Gaga moment, and hopefully, Lady Gaga, we want you on the show.
Yeah.
So come and talk to us.
Well, yeah, I will be in the crowd for that one. Because I think she's just brilliant. I mean, and I was not surprised to see her just parlay her career into. I mean, she is like the
Wadooah, as you know, part of this podcast, it's not just about, culture. We talk about travel, food, and beauty, and I love to travel all over the world. And I always want to put things out there in the universe. I want to manifest things that I'm going to go see. Like this year, I did an amazing tour in Asia. Always wanted to go to Asia. Later on this year, I'm going to go to Turkey and I'm going to go to Egypt.
Wow.
And then I'm already planning 2020 trips with Nicaragua. I want to go to, I possibly may go to Georgia and Armenia.
Oh, wow.
And people are like, Georgia State? No, people, Georgia, the country in Europe. Yeah, so that could be on the skedoodly for 2020, but for sure, I'm also going to go to Belize.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to talk about some obscure places. So I want to know what your obscure place is. Mine is the Blue Hole in Belize. And this is what it looks like. I know you guys can't see because it's a podcast, but this is what the Blue Hole looks like.
Ooh.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Wow, and I'm all
Literally
about
the
the
blue
blue.
hole.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
called. It's a sinkhole in the ocean near
Okay.
Belize, and it was it touts to be 150,000 years old, and it was a limestone. It was a limestone cave that formed.
Wow.
Gradually, the water level rose as the glacial period ended, and the caves flooded, and the roof collapsed, and thus created this unique hole. This hole was made famous by, we're going to date ourselves, Jacques Cousteau. Jacques Cousteau, which, remember we were kids, we watched that
yeah.
show?
Of course.
And that was
You
one
said
of
part of the
approved
PBS.
clothes. Yeah, and that was one of the approved shows.
That was the approved show.
Right, yeah.
But my mom and
Educational.
dad loved that show, and
Yeah,
so we
too.
loved that show as kids, Jacques Cousteau, and he made it famous, the Blue Hole in Belize.
How deep is it?
It's 100. Well, good point. I have that question. I have that information right here. The deepest point is about 124 meters, which is 407 feet.
Ooh. It's
And
deep.
the width of the Blue Hole.
Oh, blue hole. Hey.
See where my mind is. The Blue Hole. The Blue Hole is about 300 meters wide, which is about 980 feet.
Wow.
Now, this is a diver's paradise, but
Sure.
they said it's really dangerous
Yes.
because there's stalactites
Oh.
still in there, and so you can get hung and get stabbed going in there. You
Really?
gotta really be careful. The snorkeling is around. You can do a lot of snorkeling around the Blue Hole, and there's obviously day trips, and they ride the boats and the ferries down there. But divers, you have to have like a some sort of diving license, like
Certification,
24 dives before
Yeah.
you can go into this. That's how experienced divers. They won't allow anyone less than that to dive in that area because it's really dangerous.
Well, plus it's a sinkhole. We got sinkholes in Florida. You don't go play in the sinkhole.
You don't go
'cause
playing with
the
those.
sinkhole can still open up. People
Swallow you right up.
anytime.
oh, because it'd be like a vacuum.
Yeah, it's a sinkhole. I mean, it's just like
it crumble and you fall
people's
in?
houses have been sucked into. A sinkhole.
Yeah, 407 feet. So who knows if it's even deeper than that? They say.
Yeah. Or then like we're talking about earthquakes. Who knows when it'll be like,
Ooh,
ready to
nice.
take.
scary. Good God. What is your obscure place? Wadooah?
Well, I have so many things on my head. So I can't tell you specifically about one place and I mean like a one destination in that place, but I can tell you the areas. And it's funny, when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, it's funny, these are all areas around Australia. So I mean, like, just jump off points. But I mean, like the Solomon Islands is one of them, and you know, I just there's a lot of wildlife and nature, and it's very remote. I think they only get something like 25,000 tourists a year.
Oh, wow.
So,
The Solomon Islands?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How far is that from Australia?
It's like a 3-ish hour flight from Brisbane.
Oh,
Okay.
Brisbane.
Yeah, well, that's how they say
Brisbane.
it. That's, I pick up accents because I'm prepared here. But then there's also the Christmas Islands.
Where's that?
So that is this is like this, like, I mean, there's a lot of blue too if you look it up, but it's also like off the coast of Australia, but way off the coast. I think it's actually closer
Closer to
probably
Antarctica,
like to Singapore.
Oh, Singapore.
Yeah.
Oh, it's up.
Yeah.
It's north. I
Yeah.
thought it was south.
Yeah, so off the south, and again, it's also kind of remote, but they have a lot of wildlife. You can do whale watching. You can do whale
cool.
watching in Solomon Island, and the other one is Tonga. And that's on the
that's
like
on
on like
South
like on the
Pacific.
Fiji side.
Yeah.
Out there from the Polynesian culture, and they say that Wi-Fi is pretty much non-existent.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, so you really go there and you unplug, and I
Escape.
mean, and there's
Sounds like paradise.
whale watch. I mean, like, you can sea
Tonga,
life
yeah.
and
Yeah.
all kinds of beautiful terrain like that. So
Off the
I mean,
grid.
so yeah, I think in my mind it's just I want, again, when I was talking about going off grid,
Yeah.
just seeing some of these places.
And
while we
staying
can. Well, I couldn't stay. I mean, just because I would be worried about being cut off.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
But definitely to see it and you know,
sure.
like take it in.
Okay.
That sounds amazing.
What's your obscure place, Edward?
Well, my niece Madison, who's a fan of the show, she
Hi, Madison.
just got back from Ireland.
Okay.
And when she got back, she texted me. She was said, like, for obscure places, you got to talk about Isle of Man. I'm like, okay.
I want to go to the Isle of
I
Man.
bet you do.
I'll go to the Isle of
Isle of Man or the Isle of Men?
I went to the Googles and was like, what is Isle of Man? Oh, it's one man. No,
It's one
it's
huge
Isle
man.
of Man, and it's
Okay.
so it's in the, I think they said it says the Irish Sea. Yeah, it's the Irish Sea between. It's in a little island between England and Ireland. It's known for its rugged coastline, medieval castles, rural landscapes, rising to mountainous center. So
Okay.
it's like one big mountain. It sounds like rising from the shore.
I wonder why it's called the Isle of Man, though. It's
don't
just
know.
men live there?
Just one
Is it like
man.
Fire Island?
One man lives there.
probably
It's
that
the old school
old-timey-
Fire Island.
Yeah, it's an old school
version.
fire island. And I can imagine like the fog, and like the old
Oh,
grizzled
heck yeah.
seamen that
You
live
know.
there. Not seamen, but seamen that live there. And like somebody in like those coats, those like Viking things all the time. It's like reminds me of the Vikings.
Oh.
I think it was safe haven for Vikings back in
Let's
the day.
go, Edward. Book our flight now to the Isle of Man.
I love man.
Yes.
I'll go to the Isle of Lesbos.
That's just next door.
That's just next door, girl.
It's right there.
So we'll take the flight and then I'll just jump off. Yeah. Great. Good time was had by all.
Cool. And that is your obscure places. Wadooah, did you have a good time?
I had a good time. It went by so fast.
It did. Thank you so much for being
Thank you
here,
for having me.
my guest host.
Yes,
Broads, we want to say thank you to Wadooah, and of course, I always want to say thank you to my co-producer.
Thank you.
Did you have a good time,
Wait,
Edward?
Am I thinking you or are you thinking me?
I'm thinking you.
I'm thinking you.
We're
Okay.
thanking the fans.
We're thanking each other.
We're thanking each other.
Thanking the
Yes,
fans and
thank
thanking
you.
Wadooah for being here.
Oh,
You were
thank
lovely
you.
and amazing.
Yay.
I learned so much.
Oh,
Next week, we're going to have returning guest host Adam Barr. You guys remember who Adam is. Adam and his powerhouse wife, Amanda Barr, was here on our first season, and they were talking about wealth and his personal story of rags to riches. Well, Adam's going to be back next week, and he's actually going to be our season ender on our finale, our season finale show, and he's going to talk about his new book that's going to be launched on July 25th called Unleash Your Financial Powerhouse, Practical Steps to Money Mastery. And he's going to be our actual season finale. And we're going to take a 3-week hiatus on there and start season 3 in late August. So super excited for that. We have so much, you guys. The next guests, and season 3 is going to be out of this world. It's going to be so much fun. So I want to say thank you all for listening and continuing to listen. Wadooah, thank you again.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, and thank you, Eduardo.
You're welcome. How does it feel to be the co-host of the 30th episode?
Oh, that's right.
I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, I like round numbers.
There
like
you
that.
go.
This is meant to be.
Yay,
Thank you.
historic. We're in it's history.
The Trinity.
Yes, it is. So, anyways, as always, thank you for listening to Abroad.